guys, I hope you've been keeping well. If you're enjoying my videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, as this helps me to keep posting and keep growing. I already talked about being a student, then getting your graduate visa, and then now we're going to look at what are your options to progress into permanent residency and eventually citizenship. This also applies to people who are living outside Australia and they're wondering, if I don't want to come to Australia as a student, can I come to Australia and work, or can I come directly as a permanent resident? What are my options? Today's video is a bit different. I'm going to do it a little bit like presentation style. So rather than me lecturing you, I'm going to actually demonstrate stuff on a presentation, that all the information that I give you is information that is public and is from the Department of Home Affairs website. I am not currently registered agent, so do not take my opinions or my information as Bible. After you get my information, if you need any further assistance or if you need to make any further decisions, please do your due diligence and also consult an agent, a registered agent, or a registered migration lawyer. In saying that though, all the information that I give you is really information that you would be paying thousands of dollars in a consultations to get. So my aim with these videos is to educate you. After all is said and done, let's be honest, the biggest question that everyone always has is, well, Brenda, what then is the right visa for me, for my circumstances? So I am going to break down and walk you through a step-to-step questionnaire where you're going to ask yourself certain questions, and these questions will help you arrive at kind of a visa or two that you might be qualified for and why you might lean towards visa A rather than visa B. So walk with me, be patient, and I hope you enjoy this video. To look at temporary skilled visas. First one we want to look at is the skills in demand visa subclass 482. So this is a visa that has been introduced for skilled workers who will be sponsored by an approved employer. This is really important. So for this visa, or if you're considering to apply for this visa, you need to first apply for a job and get a job offer from an approved employer. So employers also have to apply to the Department of Home Affairs to get approval to sponsor people or sponsor workers. So not all employers can sponsor people. They need to be approved by the Department of Home Affairs. This visa has a duration for up to 4 years, and for people from Hong Kong, I believe this visa is up to 5 years. The visa fees currently are 3,210 AUD. If you apply for a partner or someone who is over 18, it's an additional 3,210. And for everyone who is under 18, so if you have kids, each of them have a fee of 805 AUD. So you do the math. The average processing times for this visa is quite quick. For you to be considered as a specialist, you need to be offered a job that pays over $135,000 a year. So these ones, the specialists have a quick processing time averaging 7 days. Second stream for this visa is for people who have their skills on the core skills occupation list, and their average processing time is up to 55 days. There is another stream for people who are under a labor agreement. So labor agreement is where the Australian government enters into an agreement with, I believe India has one, some of these countries, Hong Kong has one. So it depends on where you're applying from. So if your country has a labor agreement, so also you have a different, the processing time is also different. Next, we will look at visa subclass 491, which is the skilled work regional visa. And this visa requires regional nomination or sponsorship by a family member in regional Australia. I will explain what a regional area is down in this presentation and what nomination or the process of nomination, how it works. Also, you can be sponsored by a family member who is currently a permanent resident and lives in a regional area. We have recently applied for this visa for our family member and they successfully got the visa, so I will be speaking about that process too. This visa is for 5 years and it has a pathway to permanent residence via application of visa subclass 191. The visa costs 4,910 AUD. This is for the primary applicant. For any applicant that is over the 18 that is part of this application, it's an extra 2,455 AUD. And if for any extra applicant who is under the age of 18, it's an extra 1,230 AUD. The average processing times for this visa is 18 to 26 months. And you will notice that for any visa that requires regional nomination, the visa takes a while to process. This is because regional nomination is a two-step process. The first step of the process is expressing interest or applying for nomination to the specific state or regional area. Then after they have gone through your application and you're lucky enough and you get the nomination, then you have to apply for the visa to the Department of Home Affairs. The states or territories do not issue visas. Visas are only issued by the Department of Immigration and Home Affairs. The Skilled Employer Sponsored Regional. This is subclass 494. The difference between 494 and 491, they are both regional areas, but for 494 you do not need nomination. You need to be sponsored by an employer, but this employer needs to be in a regional area. It's also 5 years and has a pathway to permanent residency via visa subclass 191. The fees are the same. And the processing time for 494 is faster than for 491 because, again, you do not need to apply for nomination. Under the permanent skilled visas, we do have the skilled independent subclass 189. For this visa, you do not require a sponsor. You can just apply if you meet the minimum requirements, although you need to do an expression of interest. This visa is permanent. The visa fees are the same as the one for 491 and 494. And the average processing times currently is 6 months. The one thing I will say about this visa is that it is very competitive. So I know the minimum points are being said to be 65 points depending on where you are. But for this visa, you want to aim to be having at least 85 points and above because of how competitive this visa is. Skilled Nominated Regional, visa 190. This is the visa that I applied for, and this is the visa that gave me my permanent residence. Require a state or territory nomination. It is a permanent visa. The visa fees are very similar to the other two. And the average processing time is 16 to 21 months. Again, very long because it has the two-step. You need to apply for nomination and then you need to apply for the visa. Finally, we have the Employer Nomination Scheme. This is visa subclass 186. This is for skilled workers nominated by an employer for permanent residency. So the difference between this work visa and these work visas is that this is a permanent visa. This is the pathway for someone who holds 482. So once you hold visa 482, this same employer once you're almost done with your 4 years, can nominate you via visa 186 to now get a permanent visa or permanent residence. Also can apply to someone who has studied in Australia and secured employment, and the employer wants to sponsor them for permanent residency. The visa fees are very similar to these two, and the average processing times is between 4 to 17 months, depending on the stream of the application. In this video, we're going to do a demonstration of how to check your points on the immigration website, and this will help you gauge how you are, how you're performing, or whether you're going to meet the minimum requirements for any visa. Number 2, we will look at what is the skills and occupation list. So all these visas are based on a skills and occupation list. Another thing to consider is your general health. All visas in Australia require you to go for a medical assessment, and you have to pass the medical assessment to get the visa. Another thing that is mandatory for all visas is a character check, which we call the police clearance or certificate of good conduct, just to make sure you have no criminal history. And another thing I will mention here is that for almost all these visas, I'm positive for all these visas, you must be under the age of 45 at the date of application. As of December 24, the Australian government has implemented a single unified list called the Core Skills Occupation List. This reform is part of a broader migration strategy to simplify and streamline skilled visa applications and better match the labor market needs. This list is updated regularly, so only check the Home Affairs website for the latest one. So like you can see here, in the old system, we had a medium and long-term skilled shortage list. We had a short-term skilled occupation list. We had a regional occupation list. So there was multiple lists, but now they have all been replaced by one list. We will go through the process of checking this list and understanding how to use the list. In the first slide, we referred a lot to regional areas when we were talking about visa subclass 491, 494, and 190. Designated regional areas are parts of Australia outside the major metropolitan cities that the government encourages migrants to move to, live, work, and study in. This is part of a national strategy to ease population pressure on major cities, support economic growth and population in rural and regional areas, and fill critical workforce shortages in regional towns and outer cities. So we have 3 categories. There is category 1, which is the major cities, and in these major cities, the only visas you can apply for is the subclass 189, 482, or 186. So you're not able to apply for the regional visas, which are 491, 494, and 190. These are Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and the whole of Australian Capital Territory. And those who are not from Australia, that is basically Canberra. For category 2, these are cities and major regional centers. They are still considered as regional, and they are eligible to apply for the 491, 494, and 190. So these are Perth, Adelaide, Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, Newcastle, Lake Macquarie, Wollongong, Illawarra, Geelong. And Hobart is part of this. I'm sorry, I don't know how I missed it, but Hobart is part of this list. Category 3, these are regional centers and other regional areas. And these ones, they are given the highest level of priority and concessions. What that means is they are also, yes, this category 2, if you live in a category 2 area, you can apply for the 491, 494, and 190 visa. But anyone who lives in category 3 is given more priority over you. So here we have the whole of Northern Territory, We have Tasmania except for Hobart, South Australia except for Adelaide, we have Victoria except for Geelong, we have New South Wales except for Newcastle, Lake Macquarie, Wollongong and Illawarra, and of course Sydney. And also for Victoria, of course, we take out Melbourne. And for Queensland is the whole of Queensland apart from Brisbane, Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast. The main question you want answered is, after all is said and done, which visa then is right for me? Number one, you have to take the points test, because when you take the points test, there are things like your age that you cannot change. An English exam you can, because you can, if you're not having the highest points, you can go and try again and try again. But something like age you cannot change. Regional areas in general, the 491, 494 and 190, they require less, their points are less, but it doesn't mean that you score less. It just means that you can easily be considered with less points. But remember, it's also very competitive, so the more people that will apply who have higher points than you, the less chances you will have. Number two, have you studied a course on the list? If so, can you pass the skills assessment? So you need to understand if my course is on the list, and if it's on the list, or like your course or occupation, because on the list we don't have the courses, we have the occupation. So is your occupation or skill on the list? If it's on the list, then can you pass the skill assessment? And how will you know if you can pass the skill assessment? You need to go to the list, find out what the assessing authority is, and then go to their website and read thoroughly and research thoroughly what is required for your occupation to pass the skills assessment. Currently in Australia as a student, do you live in a regional area? If you do, then focus on applying for the regional visas, because you will already be at an advantage to get the regional visa. So 190, 491 and 494. If you're currently in Australia and do not live in a regional area, you can only apply for 189, 482 and 186. Ask yourself, should I move to a regional area to make my chances better? That is what I had to do to make my chances better. If you are outside of Australia, you can apply for 189, 190, 491, 494 or 482, provided you meet the minimum conditions. If you have a family member living in a regional area, you may be eligible for a family-sponsored visa 491. So that you also need to consider the processing times and the visa fees covered above. So you need to go back, digest, go through this video as many times as you can. Take notes. If you have questions, reach out to me through the comments or my DMs in Instagram, and we can walk through again if you're not understanding or if you have any questions. Points calculator can be found on the immigration website. If you thing it will ask you is which visa subclass you want to apply for. So we have talked about 189, 190, 489. This 489 is abolished. It is now 491. So we will go with skilled visa independent subclass 189 for this demonstration. And there is a points table, and I will open that. And here it will tell you how many points you will score if you're within this range. So for the age, the highest points is for people who are between 25 and 33. They get 30 points. If you're over 33, you get 25. If you're under 25, you get 25. If you're over 40, you get 15. For the English test, competent, that is a 6, you get 0 points. That is 6 in all the four the 4 sections of the exam. Proficient is 7 in all the parts of the exam, that is a 10. Superior is 20. You want to aim for 20. You really want to aim for 20, especially if your age here is not 30. You want to get your points here. For the skilled employment experience, so if you have any employment outside Australia, this has to be related to the skill that you are applying with. Less than 3 years, you get nothing. If it's 3 to 5, you get 5 points. 5 to 8, you get 10 points. At least 8 years, you get 15 points. For the Australian employment, so this is for someone who has finished school here and has been employed in Australia. If it's less than a year, you get 0. 1 to 3 years, you get 5. 3 to 5, you get 10. 5 to 8, you get 15. At least 8, you get 20. And then educational qualifications. If your degree is from an Australian, a doctorate from an Australian institution, you get 20. A bachelor's or master's, you get 15. A diploma from Australian institution, you get 10. And you're outside Australia and you have done a skills assessment and they have accepted your degree, you get 10 points. Completed a master's by research or a doctorate degree for at least 2 academic years, you get 10 points. And this explains, all this is just an explanation of what is acceptable and what is not. If you meet the Australian study requirement, which means you have a degree, diploma, or trade qualification from an Australian institution, again, you get an extra 5 points. So if you're applying from overseas, you cannot get these 5 points. If you have completed a professional year in Australia, you get an extra 5 points. If you have done the accreditation for translators, and some people do this to boost their points, you get an extra 5 points. If you have studied in regional Australia, you get an extra 5 points. If your partner is of a certain age and they have a good English score and they also have a relevant skill, you can get 10 points for your spouse. If their English is superior, you get 10. If their English is only competent, you get 5. If you're single or your partner is an Australian citizen or permanent resident, you get an extra 10 points. And if you have gained nomination from the state, or if you have been sponsored by a family member to come to the regional area, you will have an extra 15 points. That gives you an extra 15 points. I hope you have taken note here that there is no points calculator for the employer-sponsored visas. So we're talking about the 186, the 494, and the 482 visas. I hope this video has been informative for you and that you have learned something. In the coming weeks, I will be doing a step-by-step demonstration of how to apply for any of these visas. If you are, say, a nurse, a doctor, a teacher, an accountant, any occupation that you might be interested in, please drop a comment below or send me a DM and I will do a demonstration for it. The demonstration will include how to check the list, how to check the assessing authority, how to collect the documents, how to submit the documents. We will discuss what costs are involved in the apart from the visa fees, what other costs are involved, and how to actually put in the application. Thank you and have a lovely week. Bye.